The hum of the maglev trains echoed faintly across Neo-Atlanta's night skyline, their lights tracing ribbons through the mist. The air smelled of ozone and fried food from the vendor drones that drifted near the intergalactic port gates. Darius Cole leaned against his post, hands tucked into his jacket, eyes reflecting the glow of distant stars filtered through the city's transparent dome. He'd been on night shifts for years, guarding a sector few even noticed anymore. Cargo bays, empty docks, the soft whine of cleaning bots. But Darius liked the quiet. The world above the clouds might have belonged to corporations and synthetic diplomats, yet down here, in the low hum of the city, he could breathe. His earpiece whispered an old melody. "Ain't No Sunshine," a song passed through generations before the digital wars. It calmed him, even now, centuries later. The melody was his link to something ancient, something human. "Cole," a voice crackled through his calm. "You asleep again, man?" He chuckled. "Still awake, Lieutenant? Just listening to the city breathe." "That city ain't got lungs." "You better watch the sensors. Sector 4's been glitching all week." "Yes, sir." The line cut. Darius stretched, scanning the cargo field. Beyond the shimmer of the shield dome, rain began to fall, thick drops hissing as they hit the protective energy barrier. Neo-Atlanta never slept, yet something about this hour felt sacred, like the earth was whispering through the storm. He thought of his grandmother's stories, the ones about travelers who crossed oceans with nothing but faith and rhythm. He wondered what they'd think of him now, guarding ships that sailed between stars instead of seas. Then came a sound. Not the mechanical whine of a drone or the low bass of a passing cruiser. This was softer, almost like a sigh. Darius frowned and adjusted his scanner. A blip flared red on his display. Unregistered craft, low orbit, rapid descent. His heartbeat picked up. "Dispatch, this is Port Security Delta 9. I've got unidentified movement near Dock 14. Static. He repeated the message, but the comm stayed dead. The glitch lieutenant warned him about, no doubt. Typical. Darius grabbed his flashlight and jogged toward the edge of the dock. The rain intensified, lightning flashing across the dome's barrier. Through the distortion, he saw something tearing through the clouds. A ship, sleek and dark, spiraling downward. It hit just outside the energy shield, close enough to send a tremor through the ground. "Damn," he whispered, eyes wide. The system should have triggered alarms, but everything remained eerily quiet. Darius hesitated only a second before sprinting toward the emergency exit that led outside the dome. The night air hit him. Cold, wet, electric. He pulled his jacket tighter and trudged through the mud toward the wreckage's glow. The vessel wasn't large, maybe 20 feet long, its hull pulsing with dim blue veins of light. Smoke hissed from its engines. As he approached, the ship's surface shimmered, metal melting into something translucent, almost organic. "Hello?" Darius called out, voice steady despite the pounding rain. "Anyone hurt?" A soft whimper answered him. He froze. From the fractured hull, a figure stumbled forward, tall, slender, cloaked in silver fabric that shimmered like liquid starlight. Her skin glowed faintly beneath the rain, eyes bright with fear and pain. She fell to her knees. Darius rushed forward, kneeling beside her. Hey, it's okay. I got you." She looked up, lips trembling. Her voice came out as a melody, a sequence of notes he couldn't understand, each tone carrying emotion so raw it pierced through language. "Can you speak English?" he asked softly. No answer. Only another trembling note, and tears that glowed faintly as they mixed with the rain. Darius hesitated, then took off his jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. The fabric darkened with water, but she stopped shivering. For a moment, under the storm's pulse and the crackle of the wreck behind them, time felt suspended. "It's all right," he murmured. "You're safe now." "We'll figure this out." Her gaze met his, alien, luminous, yet profoundly human in its grief. Somewhere far above, thunder rolled through the sky, and the dome flickered. Darius didn't know it yet, but this night, the night he dried a stranger's tears beneath neon rain, would echo across galaxies. Stay tuned, because what happened next changed everything. Subscribe if you believe one act of kindness can alter the universe. The storm had settled into a steady rhythm, each drop striking Darius's shoulders like a quiet drumbeat. The woman beside him, no, the being, trembled under his jacket, her silver skin dimmed by exhaustion. He could see faint patterns glowing beneath the surface of her neck, like constellations flickering through mist. She looked fragile yet impossibly graceful. "Can you stand?" Darius asked. She didn't reply. Her eyes moved, following his lips as if studying how sound became shape. He reached out a hand, slow and deliberate. For a heartbeat she hesitated, then placed her palm in his. Her skin was warm, softer than he expected. Together they rose. "All right," he murmured, steadying her. "Let's get you out of this rain." The crash site hummed faintly behind them, the ship's organic hull healing itself in slow ripples. He'd seen alien crafts before, but never one alive. As they walked back toward the dome, Darius kept glancing at the figure beside him. Each step felt surreal. A night guard from the south side of Neo Atlanta, escorting a cosmic stranger through a storm. When they reached the service gate, the dome sensors flickered. Darius punched in his override code. The barrier shimmered and parted with a whisper. "Don't freak out," he said, forcing a nervous laugh. "It's just a little static." The woman blinked, rain catching in her lashes. She looked skyward as they passed through, eyes widening at the city within. Towers wrapped in light, the rhythmic pulse of hover traffic, holographic murals shifting to jazz beats that painted the streets in color. Neo Atlanta at night was beautiful in its contradictions, music and memory, steel and soul. Darius saw it through her wonder now, and something stirred in him. They stopped under a maintenance awning. He guided her to sit on a crate, water pooled around their boots. "You hurt anywhere?" She tilted her head, not understanding. He mimed a small cut across his arm. "Pain?" She blinked again, then traced her fingers over her chest where faint burns glowed blue. When she touched them, her skin shimmered, healing itself in seconds. Darius stared. "Okay," he whispered. "Guess you're tougher than you look." Her gaze softened, a small curve forming on her lips. Not quite a smile, but close. He pointed at himself. "Darius." She watched him carefully. "Dar-Riss." The word came out uneven, her voice melodic yet uncertain. He grinned. "Yeah, that's me." Then he pointed at her. "You?" She hesitated. Her lips parted, releasing a sound like wind through glass. It wasn't a name, more like a chord. He frowned playfully. "I'm going to need something easier than that." She seemed to understand his tone, the corners of her mouth lifting slightly. Then she looked down as if remembering something painful. Her hands trembled. "Hey," Darius said softly, kneeling in front of her. "You're safe now, all right? No one's going to hurt you." She met his eyes, and for the first time he saw tears forming, luminescent drops that glowed faintly as they rolled down her cheeks. Instinctively, he reached out and brushed one away with his thumb. The light pulsed against his skin, fading as it touched him. "Don't cry," he said, voice barely above the rain. "Whatever happened, you're here now." "You made it." For a long moment, they stayed like that, the human and the stranger, two souls beneath the rhythm of neon rain. Something ancient hummed in the silence, like destiny recognizing itself. Then a distant rumble broke the calm. Darius turned, spotting faint red flashes near the crash site. Security drones. His pulse jumped. Damn. "We gotta move." He grabbed his jacket from her shoulders and threw it over her again. "Follow me, quiet, yeah?" She nodded once, trusting him completely now. They slipped into the maze of cargo corridors, boots splashing through puddles, hearts beating in sync with the rain. Behind them, the drones drew closer, scanning the wreck, voices of metallic authority cutting through the night. Darius didn't look back. All he knew was that something powerful had just entered his life, something he couldn't explain, yet couldn't abandon. And as they vanished into the pulse of the city, a thought struck him. This was only the beginning. The rain eased into a whisper by the time Darius guided the stranger into the maintenance bay. Fluorescent strips flickered above, washing the concrete in pale light. He helped her sit on an overturned crate beside a humming generator, then crouched nearby, catching his breath. His pulse was still high from running, but his mind refused to slow down. He had no idea who or what she was, yet when he looked at her, confusion melted into quiet awe. Her silver skin had softened to a faint bronze glow under the flickering lights, as if she were trying to mimic him. The patterns across her collarbones pulsed faintly, matching the rhythm of her breathing. "All right," Darius said, exhaling. "We're clear for now. Ain't nobody coming in here till shift change." The woman tilted her head, eyes catching the light like mirrored glass. She touched her chest lightly. "Riss?" she said. He smiled. "Yeah, that's me." "You remembered." She nodded, then looked around, curious but wary. The hum of machinery filled the silence, punctuated by distant thunder. Darius scanned the small storage unit, wondering what to do next. He couldn't call command. They'd lock her up in a containment pod before asking questions. He needed time. "Okay," he muttered, pacing. "We need to talk somehow." He rummaged through a supply locker, pulling out an old hollow slab used for ship diagnostics. When he powered it on, the screen shimmered into a translucent field of light. He gestured toward it. "You understand pictures?" She blinked, then leaned closer. Her fingers brushed the surface, and the light reacted, rippling outward like water. A soft harmonic note escaped the device, and symbols Darius had never seen before appeared across the hollow glass. "Whoa," he whispered. "You did that?" She looked at him, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. Then, slowly, she pointed at an image of the crash site on the screen and drew a glowing circle around it. A series of musical tones followed, hauntingly beautiful, like a melody sung by stars. Darius felt the sound in his bones. "That's your ship," he guessed. She nodded. Then she drew two more shapes. One looked like her, the other like armored figures. Her hand trembled as she added jagged red lines between them. Darius frowned. "Someone's after you." Her eyes darkened and she gave the faintest nod. He rubbed his forehead. "All right. You crash land on my watch, hunted by, space soldiers, and I'm the fool who can't even call for backup." She didn't understand the words, but she understood the tone. Her expression softened, almost apologetic. "Hey, don't look at me like that," he said gently. "Ain't your fault, I just gotta think." The silence stretched, filled by the low thrum of the city outside. Darius caught his reflection in the hologlass. Tired eyes, rain-streaked jacket, and beside him this luminous being whose presence made everything else feel suddenly insignificant. He pulled out his old handheld radio and tuned it to a local frequency. Static buzzed, then a faint voice of a DJ drifted through, soft jazz, the kind his grandmother loved. "This," he said, "is what we call music." The alien tilted her head as the saxophone rose. Her pupils widened, shimmering gold. Then, to his astonishment, she began to hum. Her voice blended with the tune effortlessly, transforming it into something otherworldly, human warmth wrapped in cosmic resonance. Darius froze, staring. "You feel that?" he whispered. "That's soul." "You got soul." She smiled faintly, eyes reflecting the soft light of the hologlass. For a long moment, they simply listened. Two strangers connected by sound. No words, no language, just rhythm. Darius didn't know why, but something about her melody filled the hollow space inside him. He hadn't realized was empty. Then the generator flickered. He tensed, turning toward the door. Voices echoed faintly in the corridor, AI patrol units scanning for anomalies. He shut off the radio and whispered, "Stay quiet." She nodded, gaze steady and calm. As the footsteps passed, Darius realized something profound. She wasn't just lost. She was running from something that terrified her, and somehow fate had placed her in his hands. And deep down he felt it. The universe had just whispered his name back. The hum of the generator faded into silence. Darius stayed still, one hand hovering over the control panel as the sound of metallic footsteps echoed down the corridor. The patrol drones were closer now, AI enforcers, precise and merciless. He glanced at the alien woman, who watched him with calm intensity, her skin dimly glowing in rhythm with his own anxious heartbeat. He whispered, "They can't see you, or it's over for both of us." She didn't respond, but her expression shifted. She understood danger. Her luminous eyes darted toward the door, then back to him. Darius motioned for her to stay low, crouched beside the humming generator, and held his breath. The door panel hissed open. A slender drone rolled inside, its red sensor sweeping the room like a digital eye. Its voice was flat, synthetic, stripped of emotion. "Unregistered energy detected. Confirm identity." Darius stepped forward slowly, masking his nerves. "Maintenance tech call. Clearance Delta 9. Power surge. Nothing serious." The drone hovered closer, light scanning across his chest badge. "Thermal irregularities detected. You are perspiring excessively." He forced a laugh. "Yeah, well, it's hot in here. Generators acting up again." The machine paused. For 3 endless seconds, Darius felt its gaze peel through him. Then, with a soft, mechanical tone, it turned and drifted away. The door sealed shut behind it. He exhaled sharply, leaning against the wall. His pulse hammered in his ears. When he turned back, the woman was staring at him with something new in her eyes. Trust. Maybe even gratitude. "Yeah," he muttered with a shaky smile. "We're alive. For now." Her lips parted, forming faint notes that shimmered through the air, soft and trembling. It wasn't language, but emotion, an echo of relief that vibrated deep in his chest. Darius crouched beside her. "You really can't stay here long. They'll find the crash site, and when they don't find you, they'll tear this whole sector apart." She frowned, trying to piece meaning from his tone. Then, hesitating, she reached toward the hollow glass panel on the wall. Her fingers glowed as she projected a small image, an insignia, a sharp silver crest surrounded by rings of light. Darius frowned. "That's who's after you." She nodded, expression darkening. He leaned closer, whispering, "Who are they?" Her hand trembled as she projected another image, figures in armor, faceless, carrying weapons shaped like spears of light. Behind them, a vast ship hovered, its hull carved with the same emblem. When the projection faded, she covered her face, body shaking. Hey, Darius said softly. You don't have to show me more." But she met his gaze, tears welling again, and placed a hand on her chest. Then she pointed upward, to the ceiling, to the stars beyond. "Up there," he whispered. "They're hunting you from up there." Her silence confirmed it. Darius's thoughts raced. If those things were still in orbit, this was more than a local security problem. But who could he trust? The Port Authority would sell her out in a heartbeat. The military? Worse. "All right," he muttered, pacing. "We get you somewhere safe. I know a spot off-grid. No sensors, no AI." She rose unsteadily to her feet, the faint glow around her brightening as if fueled by hope. He glanced back toward the door, every instinct screaming that he was about to cross a line that couldn't be uncrossed. "I can't believe I'm doing this," he whispered, half to himself, "but you don't deserve whatever they got planned." The woman reached out suddenly, her fingers brushing his wrist. The touch was light but powerful, a pulse of warmth that surged through him like electricity and music combined. For a second, his vision blurred with images he didn't understand. Stars collapsing, cities burning, a throne of light shattered in silence. Then it was gone. He stumbled back, shaken. What was that? She looked at him with quiet sorrow, as if apologizing for something he couldn't yet comprehend. Outside, thunder rolled across the dome. Through the skylight, Darius caught a glimpse of red streaks cutting through the clouds, ships descending, scanning beams sweeping across the night. The hunters had arrived. He turned to her, voice firm now. "We move. Now." She nodded once, and together they slipped into the shadows, the rain beginning to fall again like a drumbeat, announcing the chase. Darius and the alien woman moved through the underlevels of Neo Atlanta, where the dome lights dimmed to a copper dusk. The storm had passed, leaving the air thick with ozone and the faint scent of wet concrete. His heart was still racing from the chase, but they'd managed to evade the patrols, at least for now. He led her through narrow corridors lined with graffiti and flickering signs. The paint shimmered in the half-light, murals of ancestors, poets, and dreamers, their faces turned toward the stars. "This way," Darius said quietly. "Almost there." They reached an old cargo chamber long abandoned after the war. Darius forced the rusted door open and guided her inside. "No sensors, no surveillance. You can rest here." She studied him for a moment, her gaze searching his face as though trying to memorize it. The patterns on her skin glowed faintly golden now, calmer, warmer. "You still don't get a word I'm saying, do you?" he asked with a faint smile. She tilted her head, then pressed her palm to his chest, just over his heart. "Da, Riss," she whispered, the sound soft and trembling. He froze. She'd said it perfectly this time. "Yeah," he murmured, voice catching. "That's me." Her hand lingered for a second longer before she pulled away. Darius sat down on an overturned crate, exhaling deeply. "I don't know what you ran from out there," he said. "But whatever it is, it's way above my pay grade. Still, I couldn't let them take you." Her expression softened and she reached for the hologlass again, fingers painting light through the air. This time, the projection was different, a palace of translucent stone under twin suns, surrounded by oceans of violet mist. At its center stood a throne, empty. She pointed to herself, then to the throne, then crossed both arms in an X over her chest. "You left it," Darius interpreted quietly. "You left all that behind." She nodded slowly. Then, through flickering holograms, she showed flashes, crowds bowing, soldiers shouting, explosions of color and light. Her breathing quickened, and her voice came in broken chords filled with grief. Darius reached out, resting a hand over hers. "Hey. It's over now." She met his gaze, tears shimmering once again, not from pain but from something deeper. She held his hand tightly, as though drawing strength from the simple warmth of human touch. Minutes passed in silence. The city outside pulsed faintly, like a sleeping heartbeat. Darius glanced at her and felt the weight of something he didn't yet understand settling on him. "I gotta get you out of here tomorrow," he said finally. "Somewhere safer. There's a transport hub near the river that's off-grid. You can catch a cargo ship, maybe hide till—" She interrupted him with a quiet sound, shaking her head. Then, slowly, she pressed 2 fingers to his hand and drew a small symbol, a circle broken at the top, surrounded by lines of light. He didn't recognize it, but something about it made his chest tighten. "What's that mean?" he asked. Her voice came soft, musical. "Promise." The word was clear, unbroken. Darius stared at her, unsure if he'd heard right. "You're learning fast," he said, with a faint smile. She touched his jacket, still damp from the rain, then pressed her hand over his heart again. "Promise," she repeated. He nodded, quietly overwhelmed. "Yeah, I promise I'll keep you safe." Her eyes glowed brighter, as if the word carried sacred weight. She leaned closer, whispering something in her language, a gentle string of syllables that felt like a blessing. Outside, the dome's lights flickered, painting the chamber in hues of gold and violet. Darius didn't notice. He only saw her, the stranger who had fallen from the stars, who now sat before him with tears on her cheeks and hope in her eyes. He didn't know that this promise, made in the shadow of the dome, would reach far beyond the city, far beyond Earth itself. The next morning, Neo Atlanta shimmered beneath a pale sunrise filtered through the dome. Darius hadn't slept. He sat near the entrance of the cargo chamber, watching soft light crawl across the walls. The woman, Zaira, he decided to call her, slept quietly, her breathing even, her glow faint and steady. He rubbed his temples, trying to make sense of everything. One night he'd been a security guard with a routine life. Now he was harboring an alien fugitive who'd somehow rewritten the rhythm of his world. His comm unit buzzed suddenly. He tensed, pressing it to his ear. "Cole here," a sharp voice answered. "Where the hell have you been, Darius? There's chaos at the docks, unidentified craft, missing patrol logs, sensor blackouts. Report immediately." He swallowed. Had power issues in sub-level 5, must have lost signal. Get your tail up here, the voice snapped. Now. The line cut. Darius exhaled slowly, glancing back at Zira. She stirred, eyelids fluttering open, eyes luminous in the dim light. He crouched beside her. I have to go, he said quietly. They'll notice if I don't show up. Zira looked confused, but sensed the urgency. She reached for his wrist, her touch hesitant. Promise? He smiled faintly. Yeah, I'm coming back. Just stay hidden. Don't open that door for anyone. She nodded, though her expression carried worry. He lingered 1 second longer before turning and slipping into the hallway. The walk to the security office felt longer than usual. The dome above him gleamed with morning traffic, hovercrafts slicing through the sky like silver insects. Street vendors opened for business, selling synthetic coffee and fried wraps to early commuters. The city felt alive, but to Darius, every hum of an engine carried tension. At the checkpoint, scanners swept over him, searching for biosignatures or contraband. He forced his breathing steady, praying Zira's traces wouldn't cling to his jacket. Inside, the control room buzzed with activity. Screens flickered, showing distorted footage of the crash site. Officers barked orders at drones and techs. Lieutenant Ramos spotted him instantly. Cole, where the hell you been? Sector 5, sir. Power grid fried during the storm. I was... Spare me. You see this? Ramos pointed to the largest display. The wreck site was now surrounded by drones and human troops, but the ship itself was gone. Something moved that craft. We're picking up radiation spikes and organic readings. You know what that means? Darius forced a frown. Malfunctioning equipment? Ramos glared. It means alien tech, Cole. And if something's alive out there, it's dangerous. The Port Authority wants it found, fast. Darius nodded, throat dry. Ramos leaned closer. You work nights near the perimeter. You see anything, you come to me first. Don't go hero, understood? Yes, sir. Good, you're suspended till we finish this sweep. Go home. Stay off comms. Suspended. The word hit him like a hammer. That was corporate code for under suspicion. He kept his expression neutral, muttered a stiff, yes, sir, and walked out. Back in the open corridor, he inhaled sharply. The city noise seemed louder now, like it was mocking him. He wasn't just protecting Zira anymore. He was under investigation. He caught a glimpse of his reflection in a glass panel. Tired eyes, uniform wrinkled, jaw tight. You done stepped in it now, he muttered to himself. As he made his way through the lower levels, memories of his neighborhood flashed through his mind. The tight-knit community, the laughter echoing from rooftop cookouts, the murals of ancestors who'd survived centuries of struggle. His grandmother's words rang in his ears. Sometimes doing right ain't safe, baby, but it's still right. By the time he reached the cargo chamber, determination had replaced fear. He keyed the door open. Zira, he whispered. She appeared from the shadows, relief washing across her features. Darius, he smiled. Yeah, I'm here. She stepped closer, eyes full of concern. Darius could almost hear his heartbeat sinking with the faint pulse of her glow. I lost my job, he said softly, half laughing, half sighing. Guess I'm your accomplice now. She frowned, not understanding, but when she touched his hand again, warmth spread through him, steady, grounding. For a moment, the chaos of the world outside faded. There was only the quiet hum of the city, the scent of rain still clinging to the air, and the silent truth growing between them. Neither of them could go back. Days turned into weeks, and the world outside kept spinning, while Darius and Zira hid in the quiet corners of Neo-Atlanta's undercity. The storm had long passed, but the tension lingered like static in the air. News drones hovered across the skyline, repeating alerts about an unidentified alien fugitive, broadcasting sketches that looked nothing like her, but close enough to keep Darius's chest tight with worry. He found a small rhythm again. By day, he slipped through the markets, trading credits for supplies. By night, he taught Zira simple words, gestures, and sounds. She learned fast, her curiosity endless. Light, she'd say, touching the glow from an old lamp. Rain, pointing to the dome's misty ceiling. Home, tracing her finger against her chest, then his. Each word carried warmth that made the cold space feel alive. Sometimes Darius caught himself forgetting she wasn't from this world. The way she laughed, soft, musical but real, made him feel like maybe she was the most human soul he'd ever met. One evening, he brought back an old projector from a scrap vendor. "It's not much," he said, setting it up, "but it plays old Earth vids. Helps pass time." Zyra watched as the machine flickered to life, showing faded images of people dancing in the streets, laughing under neon signs, dressed in the old styles of early 23rd century Earth. Her eyes widened. "Music?" she asked. He grinned. "Yeah, baby, real music." The beat filled the room, old-school soul jazz with a rhythm both foreign and familiar. Zyra began to move slowly, her body flowing with the pulse, hands tracing invisible constellations. The light from the projector wrapped around her like a halo, and for a moment, Darius just stood there, lost. "You dance," she said, holding out a hand. He laughed. "Nah, I don't do all that." She tilted her head, teasing. "Promise?" He hesitated, then took her hand. "All right. Just this once." They moved clumsily at first, Darius offbeat, Zyra too graceful, but somehow the rhythm found them both. It wasn't just dancing, it was communication, a conversation of touch and breath and heartbeat. When the music faded, they didn't let go right away. Silence filled the room, but it didn't feel empty. Later that night, when Zyra slept, Darius sat near the doorway, staring at the city's distant glow. He couldn't ignore what he felt anymore. It wasn't just duty or curiosity, it was something deeper, something he didn't have words for. He dozed off eventually, but the dreams that came were vivid and strange. He stood beneath a sky filled with unfamiliar constellations, watching Zyra surrounded by light. Her voice echoed inside his mind, not in English, but in a language of melody and memory. "You will see the stars as I have seen them." Then the vision shifted. The same sky burned red, ships descended, fire streaking across the heavens. Zyra reached for him, eyes full of sorrow. He tried to hold on, but she dissolved into light. Darius woke with a jolt, breath ragged, sweat cold on his skin. Zyra stirred beside him. "Dream?" she asked softly. "Yeah," he murmured. "Just a bad one." She studied him for a long moment, then reached out and touched his forehead, a faint hum resonating from her fingertips. The fear in his chest eased instantly, replaced by a calm warmth. "So you see future," she said quietly, almost to herself. "What do you mean?" he asked. She shook her head, gaze distant. "Dreams show paths, yours strong." He didn't understand, but the weight of her words lingered long after. In the following days, Zyra began to withdraw. Sometimes she'd stare at the sky through the cracks in the dome, whispering in her language, her glow fading to a soft blue. Darius wanted to ask what haunted her, but something told him she was carrying a truth she wasn't ready to share. That night, when she looked up again, a faint shimmer pulsed across the heavens, like a ripple spreading through the stars. Darius noticed it too, and though neither spoke, both felt it deep inside. Something out there was moving, calling, changing the balance of their fragile peace. The first sign came with the tremor. Darius felt it before he heard it. A deep vibration running through the floor, like the heartbeat of the world stuttering for half a second. He sat up fast, blinking through the dim light of the storage room. Zyra was already awake, standing near the doorway, her eyes fixed upward, skin glowing faintly silver. "What is it?" he asked, his voice low but urgent. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she lifted her hand toward the ceiling, as though sensing something beyond the dome. "They come," she whispered. Darius frowned. "Who's coming?" She looked at him, eyes wide with both dread and awe. "Thaleen. My people." The air grew heavier, the hum intensifying into a low, thrumming resonance that shook dust from the rafters. Outside, alarms began to echo through Neo Atlanta's corridors. Darius rushed to the cracked window near the stairwell, pulling back the tarp that covered it. What he saw stole his breath. The sky above the dome rippled like liquid glass, the artificial barrier distorting under massive gravitational pressure. Beyond it, hundreds, no thousands of lights descended in perfect formation. The city's skyline reflected their glow, each spire shimmering in hues of violet and gold. "Lord," he whispered, "it's like the whole damn galaxy's falling on us." Zyra stepped beside him, her expression unreadable. "Fleet of my kin," she murmured. "They search." Darius's pulse quickened. "Search for you?" She didn't answer, but her silence was enough. The city erupted into chaos. Hovercraft streaked through the air as military drones deployed in swarms. Sirens blared from every sector, and the voice of the governor's AI authority filled the streets, calm yet cold. "All citizens remain within designated shelters. This is not a drill." Darius turned to Zyra, gripping her shoulders. "We gotta move." "They'll find you if you stay here." She looked torn, glancing between him and the glowing horizon. "No hide now," she said softly. "They know." He shook his head. "No, there's always a way. You don't have to go with them." She pressed a hand against his chest, eyes shining with a strange mix of sorrow and strength. "You saved me. You showed mercy, but Thaleen do not forget." "They come for me, and maybe for you." His stomach dropped. "For me, why would they?" The answer arrived in the sky. A massive shape broke through the dome's upper layer, an enormous ship, easily the size of a district, its hull carved with intricate sigils that pulsed like a heartbeat. Energy cascaded around it, shimmering through the clouds like aurora flame. The sheer force of its arrival cracked the sky open, scattering shards of light that fell like meteor rain. Zyra closed her eyes, whispering something in her tongue. A prayer, maybe, or a farewell. Her glow brightened, spreading from her fingertips to her entire body. Darius stepped back, shielding his face from the sudden brilliance. "Zyra, what's happening?" She looked at him, tears in her eyes again, but this time they glowed gold, not silver. "They call my name. I cannot run anymore." He shook his head hard. "Then I'll go with you." Her expression broke. "No, Darius. Your world, not ready." Outside, a deep voice rolled through the air, reverberating like thunder in a cathedral. "Princess Zyra of Thaleen, by royal decree, you are ordered to return." The sound wasn't speech. It was power translated into vibration, every word resonating in Darius's bones. Zyra took a trembling step forward, toward the open street. "If I go," she whispered, "they stop. They leave." Darius's chest tightened. "And if you don't?" She met his gaze, and in that silence he understood. There'd be no city left to save. He reached out, catching her hand. "You promised you'd come back," he said, his voice rough. "Don't let this be goodbye." Her fingers tightened around his, and for a heartbeat the world felt still again. Then the sky roared. Light consumed the horizon as the fleet descended fully, and Neo-Atlanta trembled beneath the arrival of gods. The air in Neo-Atlanta had changed. It wasn't just the pressure from the Thaleen fleet or the eerie calm that settled after the sky cracked open. It was the weight of watching a secret become a spectacle. By the time Zyra stepped into the open, the entire city had turned its eyes toward her. Darius followed close behind her, his boots echoing on the rain-slick pavement. Drones hovered above, recording everything. Every major channel was broadcasting the event live. "There she is," someone whispered. Someone. "No way, that's her." "Is she human?" Zyra walked with a quiet dignity, her head held high, her silver gown flowing with light. The sigils on her skin glowed brighter as she moved, responding to something unseen. They reached the plaza just beneath the main tower, where the governor's office had been turned into a staging ground. Officials stood frozen, unsure if they were witnessing a miracle or an invasion. Then, with a low hum, the great Thaleen ship opened. A wide beam of golden light shot down from its belly, revealing a single figure descending slowly. A tall, armored being with skin like obsidian glass and eyes of liquid fire. His voice carried across the square. "Zyra of House Viril, You were lost. We searched the stars. Now thus you are found. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Zira stepped forward, voice steady. I left because you would not hear my voice. I returned because one soul here did. Darius stiffened as murmurs grew louder. The crowd didn't understand her words, but the translation drones picked them up instantly. The armored figure stepped onto the ground. You dishonored your line. Broke the seal of succession. Spoke with those beneath us. Darius felt something snap inside. She didn't speak with us. She lived with us. We sheltered her when no one else would. All eyes turned to him. His heart pounded, but he didn't flinch. She was hurt, alone. She didn't demand worship or threaten war. She cried. And someone needed to be decent enough to care. Zira looked back at him, her face softening. She turned again to the Tharleen emissary. This man, Darius Cole, dried my tears, not out of fear, not for favor, but because his spirit recognized mine. The air buzzed with tension. The emissary raised a hand. And what do you ask now? Zira's voice was clear. I ask for his name to be honored. For the bridge he built with kindness, not to be burned by pride. A silence fell over the plaza. Then, slowly, more ships appeared above, forming a circular halo around the city. From their hulls, banners unfurled, symbols of peace, of royal lines, and something new. A sigil shaped like a hand opened to the stars. One by one, Tharleen warriors knelt. The emissary bowed his head. Then let it be recorded. Your exile ends today by mercy given and returned. Darius blinked. Wait, what does that mean? Zira turned to him. It means they listened, because you did first. More drones buzzed in. Reporters shouted questions. Officials scrambled for statements. The city had no script for this kind of diplomacy. Zira reached for Darius's hand. Walk with me. He hesitated, looking at the cameras, the crowd, the sky filled with alien ships. I'm just a night guard. I'm not built for this. She squeezed his hand. You were. The moment you saw someone broken and didn't look away. He stared at her, at the shimmering glow of her skin, at the quiet fire in her voice. I'm not going to the stars, he said, half laughing. Right, she smiled. Not yet. And so they stood side by side as the crowd began to cheer, not out of fear, but awe. A city once divided by history now watched the impossible unfold. And above them, the ships of 1,000 worlds held their breath. The morning after Zira's return echoed with unease. The fleet remained above the dome like a silent cathedral of stars, casting shifting shadows over Neo-Atlanta. Streets buzzed with speculation, media swarmed city blocks, and government channels issued conflicting messages of peace and caution. Inside the governor's private chamber, Darius sat across from a panel of human officials. Zira stood beside him, draped in ceremonial Tharleen cloth that shimmered like liquid dusk. Her calm presence belied the tension thickening the air. Governor Elston leaned forward, folding his hands. Mr. Cole, let me speak plainly. You're a civilian, a night guard. This is first contact of historic magnitude, and you've compromised it. Darius didn't flinch. I didn't compromise anything. I helped someone in need. You harbored an unregistered alien being. That's a security violation, federal and interstellar. Zira's voice cut through the room like music layered with steel. Your laws mean nothing where empathy is absent. Another official, a tall woman in military garb, frowned. Princess Zira, your presence here without diplomatic clearance has triggered orbital panic. You must understand the danger this situation presents. Zira nodded slowly. Danger was already present. You simply failed to see it. Elston glanced at Darius. Let's say we let this play out. What then? Do you intend to stay, Mr. Cole? Or do you plan to follow her to the stars? Darius hesitated. I didn't ask for this. I never wanted attention. I just did what was right. Zira turned to him gently. But now the choice is yours. Stay on Earth or come with me. The room fell into silence. Even the translators paused. Darius stood slowly. "You're talking like this is some fairy tale. But out there," he pointed upward, "that's real. And she's real. I didn't wake up yesterday wanting to be caught in a galactic standoff, but I'm not running from it either." Elston rose, his voice tighter now. "Then hear this. If you go with her, you won't return as a citizen. You'll forfeit your rights, your records, your name. It all becomes void." Zira's gaze sharpened. "And if he stays, what does he keep?" A badge and silence. The military official stepped forward. "He could stay and advise as liaison. We need someone who understands her, someone human." Darius laughed softly, a bitter edge in his tone. "You'll want me to translate her soul into protocol? That's not how this works." Zira reached for his hand. He took it without hesitation. "We don't need their permission," she said. "Maybe not," Darius replied. "But if we're going to build something real between Earth and Thaleen, it can't start with threats and fear. It starts with trust, with stories, with people." He looked around the room. "You asked what I want? I want her to be seen, not scanned. I want our kids someday to know that a night guard and a starborn queen changed the damn narrative." Murmurs rose among the council, some skeptical, some moved. Elston sat back, defeated by the weight of something beyond policy. "So, you're saying yes?" Darius turned to Zira. "I'm saying, if you're really asking me to share your life, I ain't scared." "I've just never been off-world before." Zira smiled, the light in her eyes soft and warm. "Then I will show you the stars." A translator bot blinked, confused. "Romantic intent detected. Unclear political implications." Zira and Darius both laughed. Outside, the city continued to watch. Across every screen, every feed, one message echoed. Love had entered the diplomatic arena. And two worlds, long apart, had just taken their first step together. The sun dipped low over Neo Atlanta, casting a golden haze across the skyline. Though the Thaleen fleet remained above, unmoving and silent, the city below was changing. Murals bloomed overnight in the lower sectors, art of stars meeting Earth, of black hands holding celestial light. Something bigger than politics had taken root. Darius sat on the steps of his grandmother's brownstone in Old Fifth Ward, hands folded, gaze distant. The night air smelled like honeysuckle and fried shrimp from Mrs. Ryle's window 2 doors down. Familiar. Grounded. Home. Zira sat beside him in silence. She wore a long Earth-style wrap, deep indigo with golden threads woven through. The shimmer in her skin dimmed under the dusk, but her presence burned brighter than any star above. He broke the silence first. "You sure you want to be tied to all this? To me? It's messy down here." She turned her head. "You think I'm afraid of your world's mess?" He smiled faintly. "You should be. I barely got a grip on it myself." Inside, his grandmother moved slowly through the kitchen, humming a hymn. Darius could hear the soft rattle of pans, the same rhythm that raised him. He ran a hand over his head, nerves creeping in like fog. "She asked to see you," he said. Zira nodded, calm. "Then I will go." They stepped inside, the smell of black-eyed peas and cornbread wrapping around them. His grandmother, Miss Evie, sharp as ever in her 90s, sat in her favorite chair, wrapped in a faded quilt, older than the city itself. She looked Zira up and down. "So, you're the one." Zira bowed slightly. "Yes, ma'am." Evie raised an eyebrow. "You believe in love, girl?" Zira didn't blink. "I believe in what he gave me when I had nothing." "If that is love, then yes." Evie chuckled, raspy and low. "Well, that's a good answer." Darius stood awkwardly nearby, hands in pockets. "Grams, don't go scaring her." Evie waved him off. "Boy, hush. If she's strong enough to fall out the stars and land in your lap, she can handle my questions." Zira stepped closer. "I came to thank you. He is who he is because of you." Evie's eyes glistened. "He's a good man, got his daddy's stubbornness and my mama's soul, but he ain't never been one to dream past the dome." Darius shifted. "That's not true." Evie looked at him. "Isn't it?" You always been looking down, not up. Always trying to fix what's broken right here, not out there. He sat down across from her. I didn't think out there was even an option. Until her. Zira took his hand. And now? He stared at their joined hands. Now I don't know if I'm brave enough to leave what made me. Evie leaned in. Baby, what made you isn't tied to a building or a block. It's in your blood, in the rhythm of how you walk, how you speak truth, how you love. Don't matter if you're in Atlanta or on some floating moon somewhere. Take it with you and you'll never be lost. Darius swallowed hard. You really think I should go? Evie nodded slowly. I think love don't come around like this twice, and I think you'd regret it every day if you didn't follow where it leads. Zira's grip tightened. Her glow returned, slow and steady. I'm scared, Darius admitted. That's how you know it's real, Evie said. Outside, the night deepened. The stars blinked to life, faint behind the dome. Zira stood and turned to the door. Darius followed her out, silence thick between them. He looked up at the sky. I don't know what's waiting on the other side of those ships, Zira whispered. Neither do I. He took her hand. Then I guess we find out together. The ascent began at dawn. Darius stood beside Zira at the edge of the launch platform, eyes fixed on the horizon as the sun rose behind the Thaleen fleet. The sky was bruised with light, a palette of purples and oranges, split by the sleek outlines of ships older than any Earth nation. Still time to change your mind, he murmured, more to himself than to her. Zira's voice was soft. You've already chosen. Your spirit stepped forward before your body followed. The transport shuttle behind them hummed gently, doors wide open like an invitation and a warning. 2 royal guards in obsidian armor stood silently near the ramp, heads bowed in deference. Darius adjusted the strap of his old duffel, packed with nothing but 3 changes of clothes, his grandfather's harmonica, and a photo of his grandmother from her youth. No tech, he said, no weapons, just me. Zira nodded. They will not search you. You are my guest. They boarded together, and the shuttle rose in silence. The city shrank beneath them, domes and towers dissolving into fog. Darius felt a quiet ache as he watched the streets disappear, the ones he used to patrol at midnight, now distant as memory. The ship docked with the largest vessel in the fleet, its hull layered with silver crystal, alive with pulses of light that throbbed like breath. Inside, the air smelled of cedar and metal. It was warmer than he expected, less sterile, more sacred. Zira led him through curved corridors that sang faintly when they walked, harmonizing with the rhythm of their steps. The walls responded to her presence, revealing passageways, lighting paths. The ship knew her. It remembered. They arrived at a chamber unlike anything Darius had seen, a domed observatory open to the stars. The floor shimmered with constellations, and above a massive, slowly rotating sphere displayed the history of the Thaleen. Zira gestured to it. This is our record, not written, remembered. The sphere shifted, showing scenes in fluid light, crowds rising in song, vast cities in the clouds, a young girl crowned with a ring of flame. Is that you? Zira nodded. Before the exile. Before the choice. Darius watched in silence as the images twisted. War, fire, betrayal, a ship leaving. You didn't just run, he said. You gave it all up. She turned to him, eyes steady, because I believed there had to be more. That power without soul was not worth holding. My people. They forgot. I had to remember for them. He moved closer to the edge of the room, watching the stars spin. Do you ever think maybe you were wrong? Zira didn't answer immediately. When she did, her voice was low. Yes, often, until you. That caught him off guard. He turned, hands in his pockets. I'm not a prophet. I'm not a soldier. I'm not even on payroll anymore. She stepped forward, placing her hand on his chest. You're more than any of those. You're the proof. He swallowed hard. So what now? Zira looked toward the sphere. Now the council meets. They will see you, hear you, judge not by lineage but by light. Darius laughed, dry and uncertain. So no pressure, she smiled. Your story is not for pressure. It is for truth." He stared at her, then nodded. "Then let's tell it right." Above them, the sphere pulsed. Images began to change, new ones. A night guard offering his jacket to a stranger. A promise made beneath neon rain. A hand extended across species. The ship was remembering him now. Darius stepped into the center of the room, heart steady. "All right," he said. "Let's give them something to believe in." The Chamber of Judgment was unlike anything Darius could have imagined. At its center stood a platform of translucent stone, suspended by magnetic fields that hummed like distant thunder. Around it, tiered seats curved upward into infinity, filled with Thaleen delegates, robed in radiant fabrics that shimmered with their emotional states, gold for curiosity, crimson for dissent, indigo for sorrow. Darius stood alone on the platform. No microphone, no translator. The room itself resonated with thought and intention. His words would be understood, not by language but by meaning. Zyra watched from a separate platform, flanked by royal guards, her expression unreadable. A deep voice filled the chamber. "Human Darius Cole of Earth. You are brought before the Assembly of Thaleen to speak to the matter of interference in royal succession, violation of interstellar law, and the unprecedented act of emotional sanctuary granted to an exiled sovereign." He took a slow breath. "Y'all say interference, but where I come from we call it kindness." A ripple moved through the delegates. The lights shifted, skepticism in amber, curiosity flickering back to gold. Another voice, this one lighter, female. "You knew she was of royal blood." "No, not at first. She didn't tell me. She didn't have to. All I saw was someone broken, cold, scared. And I'd have done the same if she'd been anyone. That's what makes us people." Zyra's eyes never left him. A third voice. "And when you knew?" Darius shrugged. "Didn't change what she needed. Just meant more folks wanted to take her away from what little peace she had. And I wasn't going to let that happen." The lights pulsed, tension rising. A fourth voice, sharp and condescending. "You risked your status, your planet's security, for what, affection?" His jaw tightened. "No, for something bigger. For the idea that just because someone's different, born on a different star in a different body, speaking a different kind of music, it don't mean they're less worthy of protection. Or love." A hush fell. For the first time, the delegates' lights dulled, neither bright nor dim, caught in stillness. Darius stepped forward. "You call this a trial. But what you're really asking is, can a human heart hold something sacred to your people? I'm telling you, it already has." From the far side of the chamber, a new figure entered. Elderly, tall, their robe entirely black, a color Darius hadn't seen until now. The lights around them dimmed in reverence. "This is Highkeeper Velrian," someone whispered from the gallery. "Last living witness to the original covenant of the crown." Velrian looked at Darius with pale, almost translucent eyes. "What did she give you?" Darius didn't hesitate. "Hope." The elder nodded once. "Then she has fulfilled her vow." Gasps echoed. Velrian turned to the assembly. "She left the throne to find meaning. She returns not with armies or vengeance, but with the one thing we forgot: compassion." The elder raised a hand and Zyra stepped forward. "Your exile is lifted," they declared, "and by Thaleen right, you may name your heart's companion before the stars." Zyra's voice trembled with grace. "I name Darius Cole." The chamber erupted in light, waves of blue, gold, rose, and silver cascading across the walls. Darius blinked. "Wait, what just happened?" Zyra smiled. "You were judged worthy, not as a subject, as a sovereign equal." The platform beneath his feet glowed, symbols rising around him, etching themselves into the space like poetry. He stepped toward her. "Does this mean I got to wear one of those robes?" She laughed. "Only if you want to start issuing decrees." He took her hand. "Then my first decree is dinner." The chamber broke into melodic laughter, a harmony that echoed like wind through ancient glass, and far beyond the ship stars shifted, paths rewritten, a new constellation born, not of lineage or conquest, but of love, proven true. Neo Atlanta shimmered below like a jewel cast in dusk. From the observation deck of the Thaleen royal cruiser, Darius watched the city that had once been his entire world drift farther away. The ship was silent, save for the soft hum of its living engine and the occasional echo of light pulsing across the crystalline walls. He stood with his hand resting on the curved glass, his reflection merging with the stars beyond. Behind him, Zyra approached quietly, her gown trailing whispers of celestial silk. "You've been quiet," she said. He nodded. "Just trying to hold it all. Feels like I blinked and became something I don't fully understand." She stood beside him, eyes fixed on the same horizon. "That's how I felt the day I was crowned. The moment they placed the light mark on my brow, I stopped being a girl, started being a symbol." Darius turned to her. "And now?" She smiled gently. "Now I'm something else. Not because of title, because of choice." He studied her face, so familiar now, yet still impossibly other. "You really want to build something between our worlds?" Zyra's voice carried weight. "More than want, I have to. If I return to the throne alone, I prove nothing. If we return together, with you, someone from the very place they fear, then I change the narrative. We don't erase the past, Darius, we rewrite the future." He let her words settle. Then he whispered, "That's a heavy ask." "It is," she said, "but you've carried heavier already." The chamber shifted around them. Walls of memory unfolded, projecting scenes from Earth and Thaleen alike. Black children dancing on cracked concrete beneath neon street lamps. Elders praying beneath domes. And above, celestial maps tracing paths between distant homes. Zyra reached out, her fingers brushing the air. The projections responded, spinning a new symbol into being, a hand extended, half Terran, half Thaleen, woven in starlight. "We will call it the Covenant of Two Dawns," she said, "a union of not just hearts, but cultures." Darius blinked. "You already named it?" "I dreamed it long before I met you," she said, turning to him. "But I never had a face to match the hope, until you." He stepped closer, his voice lower now. "You sure you're not just caught up in the magic? That maybe this is just a fantasy born of fear and timing?" Zyra didn't flinch. "I've lived lifetimes in shadow. I know the difference between desperation and destiny." Darius exhaled. "Then I guess we'd better make this real." Zyra's smile broke through like sunrise. "The Council has agreed. With your acceptance, you will be named the first Earthborn cultural ambassador of the Thaleen." His brow raised. "Ambassador?" "Technically. But I prefer Bridgekeeper." Darius chuckled. "Bridgekeeper sounds like something from an old Earth folktale." "Then let's be the first chapter," she said. From a nearby console, a chime echoed, signals from both Earth's newly restructured alliance network and Thaleen's outer fleets. Messages of tentative agreement. Darius took her hand. "No going back now. Would you want to?" He looked once more at the stars. "Nah. I've been looking up my whole life. Just never thought I'd actually go." The ship adjusted course, entering a stream of interstellar light that curved through space like a river. Ahead lay the Thaleen capital, the ceremonial halls, and a future unwritten. Darius squeezed Zyra's hand. "Let's build it. From scratch, brick by brick, star by star." She nodded. Together. And as they crossed the void, the Earth rotated quietly behind them, its own stories continuing below, unaware that one of their own had stepped into the myth of tomorrow, hand in hand with a queen from the stars. The day Neo Atlanta welcomed Darius back was unlike any in its history. The sun broke through the dome as if the sky itself bowed to something sacred. Crowds filled the city center, from the edge of Peachtree Spire to the roots of Old Fifth Ward. Vendors stopped their drones. Kids wore makeshift capes stitched with stars. Music spilled from every corner, brass, bass, and beats harmonizing with the pulse of a people, witnessing something that had never happened before. Darius stood at the center of it all, dressed in ceremonial Thaline robes tailored with Terran cloth, woven indigo, stitched in gold, and lined with a symbol now known across 2 systems, the Bridgekeeper's mark. Zyra stood beside him, her presence quiet and regal. No royal guards this time, no fleet shadowing the sky, just her, a woman from the stars, a queen in her own right. The mayor stepped up to the microphone first, voice cracking with emotion. "Let it be known," she said, "that this city honors not only the return of one of its sons, but the future he's helped shape for all of us. Today, we witness a new kind of history, not written by conquest but by compassion." Applause roared like thunder. Darius stepped forward. No script, no advisors. Just his heart and the mic. "I ain't got fancy words," he started. "I was a night guard, just a man doing his job, trying to keep folks safe. I didn't expect to be part of something galactic. I definitely didn't expect to fall in love with someone who didn't even speak my language." The crowd laughed gently, leaning in. "But that's the thing about connection," he continued. "It don't care where you're from, what skin you wear, or what stars raised you. It shows up in small moments, in a tear you wipe away, in silence shared, in promises kept." He looked at Zyra. "She came back not because I saved her, but because I saw her, and because she saw me." Zyra stepped beside him and for the first time in public spoke Earth Standard on her own. Her voice was clear, melodic, steady. "I did not come to claim land or title. I came to give thanks. Your world gave me safety. One of your own gave me hope. And now, together, we give something back, a bridge between us, strong and sacred." The crowd stood in reverent silence. Even the children were still. Then from behind them a rhythm began. Soft at first, a single drumbeat echoing down the street, then another, then horns, then voices rising in harmony. Neo Atlanta sang. It wasn't a song from any one genre. It wasn't rehearsed. But it carried the soul of the city, gospel, jazz, hip-hop, ancestral rhythms of distant lands. And somehow, woven into it, Zyra added her own voice, tones not of this earth, wrapping around the beat like silk. Together they created something new. Darius closed his eyes, the sounds wrapped around him like home. When the music faded and the applause thundered again, Darius leaned close to Zyra. "So what happens now?" She smiled. "Now, we walk forward. Together." Later that night, as they watched the stars rise from the rooftop of his grandmother's house, Darius pulled out the harmonica he'd carried all this way. "You ever hear blues before?" he asked. Zyra shook her head. "No, but I'd like to." He played, soft and slow, notes bending like memory. She listened, one hand over his heart, the other tracing constellations in the air. And above them, the stars didn't just shine, they listened. If this story moved you, if you believe in love that crosses worlds and kindness that shifts destinies, don't forget to subscribe, because the next journey is just beginning.